All right, so my research yesterday with doing ChatGPT and being able to change the narrator is an entire game changer for this channel because now I can talk to you guys from the perspective of an executive, a poor person, a lady of the night, any person in society that has an opinion. You can ask ChatGPT to generate what their stereotypical response would be to a prompt. And I don't like reading scripts, but you guys have to believe that this is legitimately going to change the way, at least the way this channel functions for a very long time. I think it's going to give me a step up in the YouTube business because I find it fascinating. And if I am excited about this, I hope that you are. I don't know when this video is going to go up because I got a lot of videos I've been working on this week and it's all I've done. So here we go. So I got home from visiting a place of ill repute. Let's just put it that way. And while I was in there, I was thinking about how difficult it must be this person. But at the same time, as the greedy business owner of this establishment, which must be incredibly dark to say the least, I posed this to ChatGPT as a prompt. So it goes like this: act as a greedy small business owner who has employees that do not speak English and do not have the ability to understand what's going on. To that, I also added this. Why does no one want to work anymore? Why do people want so much money to work minimum wage jobs? Where where's the being grateful for having any job? So that's what was put into the program. This is what came out of it. There's three paragraphs. I'm going to read the whole paragraphs and I am going to respond to all three just because it's crazy. It's exactly what we've seen on Fox News and what I've been telling you guys for years. So here we go. Paragraph number one. Oh, it's just unbelievable these days. Nobody wants to work anymore. And when they do, they expect top dollar for doing the bare minimum. I mean, where's the gratitude? There used to be a time when people were just grateful to have a job, any job. You could offer them a paycheck and that was enough. Now they're all demanding fair wages, work-life balance. Like, really? What happened to just showing up, putting in your hours, and being happy you were employed? This is truly how rich people feel. You come to work and for a paycheck that may be $600, that may be $800 for 2 weeks' work. My first paycheck at Walmart was 600 and no, it wasn't 600. It was $340 for working 2 weeks because you had to do the computer based training before they would let you on the sales floor. And you could only do the training a little bit at a time. So after 2 weeks, when I went in to get this paycheck that I badly needed, I looked at it and I walked up to the first manager I saw and they said to me, that's a normal paycheck for around here. And I looked at them and I'm like, how does anyone survive? And they just put their head down and they looked sideways like, oh, what are you talking about? That's a normal sized paycheck for working in retail. Fair wages don't exist in retail. Work life balance doesn't exist in most places that expect you to be a 24/7 employee with no life. What happened to just showing up and putting in your hours? That doesn't happen either. If you've ever worked in retail, it is one of the sketchiest jobs you'll ever have. When people don't show up, when people don't really need their paychecks, this is teens, this is high school students that are just working because their parents told them that they had to find some crummy 10-hour a week job. They are not the most reliable workers. Anyone that doesn't have to work for food is not going to be a reliable worker. Now, if you're not going to be able to make rent or a car payment or feed your kids, things where you have actual responsibilities, people are going to show up for the rest of their lives. I work with these people currently, but when I worked in retail, there was a lot of people who didn't take work seriously. So therefore, the owners didn't take them seriously. So when you had people like myself who absolutely had to work and we wanted fair wages because we had real responsibility, what are you told? This isn't that kind of job. I've been told that repeatedly throughout my entire life. This bare minimum job isn't designed for a person with financial responsibilities. But the owner wants you to treat that job like it is the most important job in the world, and they get angry when people show up at that happy-go-lucky. The paycheck is fine. They want people to come to work and give up. They want younger workers who will come to work and not question the system. That's the problem with Gen Zero. They're coming into work, they're seeing how low these paychecks are, they're seeing they're not getting paid fair wages, they're not happy. And being unhappy for the owner means that you're ungrateful, which leads us into our second paragraph. It's like this new generation doesn't understand that a job is a privilege. Remember, people, the next time you're wandering around out in society with your paper resume, understand that a job is a privilege, not a right. They want flexibility, they want benefits, they want to be compensated like they're running the place. This is something that's been said about Generation Zero since they came into the workplace. They want compensation like they're the CEO. They want to walk into a job, especially male Gen Zero, because they relate success, financial success, with a high level position. Generation Zero females are a little bit more understanding that they may not get the best job in the corporation, but they don't associate work with status in society. So they're a little bit better about it. So I didn't have all these perks as the rich guy. When I was starting out, I worked long hours, weekends, holidays, without expecting anything extra. This is the generation that they come from. They worked long hours, weekends, but the cost of living was so low that even a person working in a fast food place or any low level position in society 20 years ago, 30 years ago, could still expect to pay $200 worth of monthly rent. But now, if I ask someone to work a few extra hours, they want overtime or to be a contractor. It's ridiculous. You know what's changed between now and then? Is that rent went from being affordable on any job to needing a six-figure income to move into a nicer condo. A condo in a nice neighborhood, not where I live in this piece of crap falling apart, decrepit. Uh, I have a lot of words to say about how much I dislike where I live. But where I want to live costs $3,000 to $5,000 a month. It's new, it's luxurious, it doesn't have any poor people nearby. Recently, at least in the last week, we had a family with like five kids move in at the apartment across the way from me. There's no front yard. It's a tiny one bedroom apartment that barely houses one person, and you're going to move five kids into that apartment? Jesus Christ, I don't know how the apartment complex allowed that. No one has kids around here. I think it's cruel to move people into these apartments that have one other person in them, let alone pets. Can you imagine a pet in a 250 square foot apartment? Imagine kids in an apartment that size. But that's the ridiculous nature of the way that this greedy small business owner works. And in the place that I just went to, I imagine that the ladies are being taken advantage of because the owner says, "Well, I'm providing you a place to stay, I'm providing you food and a an employment whether you like it or not." And so they're stuck. They don't have an education. They don't speak English. They don't know how to do anything. These are all of the migrant workers that have come out of South America. They aren't useful for most jobs. They're going to be coming into a job market that's saturated with people at the very bottom that don't want to do those jobs. And small, greedy business owners are going to look at the migrants and think, well, they can't fight back because they don't speak English. We don't have to pay them anything because they're not educated. They don't know how to do anything. They're going to go into all the industries where we already have a high level. of migrant workers, of low tier, low education, non English speaking people, agriculture, hospitality, and meat packing. That's where they end up because they can't do anything better. As a highly educated person, sometimes I feel like I'm down there in the gutter with them. Despite all the advantages of my education, I don't feel like the upward mobility for the lower class has ever really been taken into consideration, especially not by people who directly benefit from exploitation. These are the same people that claim to live on razor thin profit margins, but still drive expensive cars, live in large mansions, and still complain that the minimum wage is too high. All right, so for our third paragraph, here we go. They complain about minimum wage, but come on, they should be grateful they have a job at all. This is a number one complaint for any business owner. You should be grateful to have any job at all. The entitlement these days is off the charts. Everyone wants more for less. Everyone wants less hours, more benefits, more flexibility. They all want more, and they all want to work much less difficult jobs. Their performance levels right now are outrageous. It's no wonder why businesses are struggling to stay afloat when labor costs keep rising just to meet their inflated expectations. I don't know what happened to just being happy to work and contribute. You know who worked and contributed? The people who built the pyramids. I hear historians all the time say, well, they weren't slaves. Okay. Is the American population, are they living to be happy to work and contribute? Do they live to work or do they work to live? I think it's the first one. Because when you have a person that directly benefits from exploitation, you have to believe that your subhuman workers don't know what happens, don't understand that their place in society is to be the garbage. They are the unwashed masses. They are being treated in cruel ways. They are being expected to live in survival mode, not for a small portion of their lives, but you're talking about large segments. Gen Z is going to be one of the generations that is going to have to stay in survival mode for its entire work life. There may not be a time in which Gen Zero can rise up past entry level jobs because the higher jobs are being taken by millennials and they're going to stay in those jobs for a long time, as long as they can hold on to them. But the strange part is that as I've been doing more and more videos like this from the perspective of rich people, they don't want anyone comfortable in positions. They don't want Gen Z getting comfortable in a job because then they're going to want things. They're going to want perks. They're going to want compensation. They're going to want flexibility. They're going to want all the things that make a job comfortable and make you want to stay there. So, in conclusion, here, why does no one appreciate the opportunity to work for someone like me anymore? It's not my fault the economy's tough. I just want to run a business. And this is exactly it. They always say this. Like, it's not my fault that the minimum wage is so low that the federal minimum wage is still $7.25 and hasn't moved since the year 2009. That unemployment benefits in Arizona are still just $200 a week since the year 2004. And they will not increase them because they think that $200 is too much of an encouragement to not work. If I had a penny for every time I've heard a Republican say we can't make it easy for people to stay home because if we offer them anything, no one will work anymore. That's not true. And it never has been true. And continuing to say something, this is a very right statement. The more you say lies and you tell people lies about the economy, doesn't make them true. We know that the numbers for jobs are skewed. Every time we get a jobs report and they claim 250,000 jobs added, we know what those jobs are. They're the jobs that no one wants. They're the jobs that this greedy business owner is throwing his hands up in the air and wondering why he can't get more people to work at Dairy Queen. In fact, I ran into that business owner during the pandemic who was freaking out because as the owner he was having to come in to keep his business afloat and work those hours because he couldn't find what he deemed was acceptable labor. And he told me this to my face. Where are the high school students that would normally work here? They won't work. Where's Gen Z? Why is it Gen Z filling every Taco Bell and Chipotle in America? Where's Gen Z showing up to do the crap jobs? They're not showing up, and millions upon millions of jobs are out there waiting for those desperation workers that don't seem to be manifesting itself. And then you ask yourself, if there are so many millions of open jobs, how is the unemployment rate at 4%? One thing after another with this economy, with this job economy, doesn't add up. Nothing about the numbers that we're being told right now passes the sniff test. I'm sorry. Everything about what you're being told about the economy right now has to be wrong, or else these numbers would be better. Give people living wages, offer them promotions, give them a path to something more than just a job. There are less and less positions in this country that are careers. You don't have a career when you go work at Walmart. You don't have a career when you're working at an Amazon warehouse. You don't have a career when you're working at a car wash. What you have is a job where you're going to be at temporary. I haven't seen so many people job hopping from entry level jobs in my entire life. They literally are going from Kroger to Walmart to a Walgreens to CVS and then to the gas station, then at Burger King. They're working every fast food chain place there is, every retailer, and every warehouse, and they're not getting ahead. The fact is that, as I've said, in order to get ahead at a tier zero job, you would have to work to the point where you could never sleep. And still, you would be generating sub $80,000 a year, and that still wouldn't be enough to get you into that $3,000 to $5,000 a month condo where you'd rather live rather than living where I live. And do you know why I keep using the place that I live in as an example? Because I don't want to live here. I'm trapped here because of the cost of living. I can't afford $3,000 to $5,000 a month in rent, and most people can't. The 99%, the people that are supposed to be out there working these millions of open jobs, they can't afford to live. More and more people that are working full time are being forced into the last affordable housing in America, which is their cars, or even worse, the even bottom level of living in America and looking for affordable housing is just simply committing some sort of small crime and then ending up going to jail, then from jail to prison, because let's say you had to turn to a life of of darkness in order to get by because you graduated from college, you still couldn't find a job, and you didn't want to live where I live, and then you just decided that maybe just this one time you could get away with it, and then you wake up and you're in prison for 5 to 10 years. I remember watching this Vice video, I don't know, about, I'm going to say around 10 years ago, about a guy who got out of college, kept crunching the numbers about how much he owed on his student loans, and decided to become a mule. Of course, his stomach burst just after getting off of the airplane, and he had to go to the emergency room, and he got caught. So instead of getting to spend the next 5 years in entry level positions, knowing full well that his life was going nowhere and he had no upward mobility, he was going to spend it in the pokey, regretting his decision on whether or not he should have tried crime to get out of his student loans. But most of us realize that there is no hope. Writing this video, making this video, goes to show that the greedy small business owner is well aware at what he is doing to society and gives no doesn't feel any remorse. He has no shame. He's just like Fleece Johnson. There's no shame in the small business owner's game. He knows what it is. There's only wealth for the 1%. Everyone else needs to turn around, grab their ankles, and say, you know what? This position is for life.